Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust TV. Our phone-in segment today focuses on a decision that's already generating heated debate. The federal government's 7-year ban on establishing new federal universities, polytechnics and colleges of education across Nigeria. Now, the announcement came yesterday from the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. According to the minister, Nigeria's challenge is no longer access to tertiary education, but the quality and the sustainability of the institutions we already have. Now, let's look at the numbers. In 2023, over 1.6 million Nigerians applied to universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education through JAMB. This year, 2024, that number last year and this year, that number climbed to about 1.9 million applicants, yet fewer than 650,000 were admitted in each of those years, leaving millions without placement. Nigeria currently has 72 public federal universities, 42 federal polytechnics, and 28 federal colleges of education, alongside hundreds of state and private institutions. But despite these numbers, the minister says many schools are grossly under-enrolled, with 199 universities having fewer than 100 applicants through JAMB this year, and 34 recording 0 applicants. Some federal universities in certain northern states reportedly have fewer than 2,000 students, while one has 800 students but 1,200 staff. Oh, that's ridiculous. The government argues that this shows duplication, waste of resources, and declining infrastructure, all of which undermine graduate quality and worsen unemployment. The moratorium, therefore, is meant to halt the proliferation of institutions, consolidate resources, rehabilitate existing facilities, and improve staff quality and carrying capacity, with the goal of producing graduates who can compete anywhere in the world. Still, this decision raises big questions. In a country where millions of young people can't gain admission, is a ban on new federal institution a right move? Should the focus be on expanding access or fixing the quality of the schools we have? So this morning, we want to hear from you. What is your take on the ban on a new federal tertiary institutions? You can call on the number displayed on your screen, and also send WhatsApp messages displayed.
All right, but before we open up our phone lines, let us take a look at this short clip.
Okay.
We approved a 7-year moratorium on establishment of new federal tertiary educational institutions all across the country. Tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. 7-year moratorium on establishment of any of these institutions. And let me give the members of the press and the entire country the full perspective and the context behind this memo going to the Federal Executive Council. Today, in our country, access to tertiary education is no longer an issue. What we have now is duplication of new federal tertiary institutions. And what we're seeing is significant reduction in the carrying capacity of each of these institutions, tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. Now, we're witnessing significant deterioration of infrastructures, both physical and manpower, at these federal tertiary institutions. So, and if we do not act decisively, we'll have significant reduction in the quality of graduates coming out of these institutions.
All right, that was Dr. Tunji Alausa, the Minister of Education at the Federal Executive Council meeting yesterday. Now, the question still stands, what's your take on the ban on the new federal tertiary institutions? So make sure you call us in through the numbers displayed on your screen so that we can have your opinion and hear your thoughts as well as send us a WhatsApp message so that we can read your thoughts out loud. All right, we have our first caller this morning. We have Shatima Yakudima from Maiduguri. Hello, good morning, Shatima. Thank you for joining us. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Hauwa. Good morning, Maryam.
Good morning,
Shatima.
Good morning, Trusty. This is Shatima Yakudima calling from Maiduguri.
Good morning, Shatima. How are you doing this morning?
Alhamdulillah, we thank God.
All right. So what is your take on the ban on new federal tertiary institutions in Nigeria?
Well, honestly speaking, to me, I'm talking about me, myself. Honestly speaking, to me, there is nothing bad about it. Why did I say so? If you look at it, we have enough, more than enough. But the issue is the quality. The quality. Let them address the quality. Let provide any need facilities to be picked. Because some of the institutions, if you go, they answer the name institution, but in reality, they are far from the education institution. Because many schools were established some years back, but there is nothing to show about. To me, if at all we can do something to help the Nigerian youth, is to establish vocational education, more vocational schools, and more skill acquisition institutions. That is what the country requires to catch or to arrest the youth unemployment. And nowadays, what we are after is for our youth to be taught how to be creating, how to be inventing things, but with their hands. This theory education to read, blah blah blah. The time has passed. People are thinking past to give their youngest ones how to create things. Creativity era. We all lack that in this country. Honestly speaking, if our youth, they will be training to become expert carpenters, welding engineers, things like that. Building engineers, we produce them more. It will help us, not be reading theory. These things have been passed. The age of this education has passed. We have to think how we will develop our youth one on skill acquisitions. So what we are after is now to create more skill acquisition institutions where our children, they will be rely on their own. They will because we all believe that now government cannot give work to the training population of the youth because the unemployment has shown it. We see it, government is not ready to make an employment. Because if you look at it now, the influx of people who are retiring, and there is no replacement in that sector, it is enough for you to know that government is not ready to give people more employment. So in order to arrest that situation, we should be having more skill acquisition institutions. Skill acquisition institution, that is what we all want. Government to focus attention on that sector. Teach our children how to rely, not to seek and for an employment. Let them rely with themselves. What the training that they receive, they should put it into practice so that they can help the youth that they are coming off. So that the burden will be reduced on the government and the society, because if a youth has something doing, you have prevent him from such kinds of these crimes of the new generation. because they say an idle mind is it's a devil workshop. So we have to try as much as possible to inject more money on the skill acquisition. That's my take. Thank you so much and happy nice day.
All right, thank you very much, Shatima, for that contribution. He said his take is that it is not a bad thing that the federal government has placed a ban on a new federal institutions, but then he added that he is advocating for for vocational schools, and that is in its own right at the end of the day, so that a lot of people should get other options, other alternatives, even though a lot of the youth are diving into entrepreneurship, but then still they should have another option that would train them and put them on the right path so that they can know what they're doing. All right, let's take our next caller. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Yes, thank you for joining us. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Ade calling from London.
Good morning, Ade. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Maryam. How are you today?
Very fine, thank you. Good morning.
All right, what is your take on this ban?
Yes, today in UK, all our A-level students are sending their results because we have to do training very carefully, not from SSP. So we are getting their results. So, and you pass, which is like exam there, we send them to USA and test. So when they were saying from BBC this morning, and the lady was telling us that the era of degree, getting a job is over. Here in UK this morning, the era is over, that everybody now, they are going for entrepreneurship. We call it apprenticeship here. Because we have stations in Nigeria. So some students now from A level, they now come in for apprenticeship, either to learn how to build a house, painting, plumbing, all these things. That's what we are doing now. So the person now said, the era of degree has been going over. So that's what we are saying here. So that's what in Nigeria we do the certificate. I'm a BSc holder, I'm a this holder, I'm that holder. It doesn't work anymore now. So every university, we have a entrepreneurship department where they can learn something, code about something, so that one will give them happy fun. So I support the government. One is because you get to some university in Nigeria or polytechnic, they don't even have toilets, no water. You see the spray carrying bucket to go and fetch water, it melts away. Anything happen to them. So, I mean, the difference is too much between there and here. So I agree with the government, even though they lack their responsibility in taking care of this institution. They just got some students in Bible 2 days ago, and Samson was among them. So they are not taking care of them, and they are not job when they finish. So the best thing for every student to go and learn, to at least train in one station or the other. Those are help to come to overseas. I don't want to say that. I can't help your children unless you have handwork. If you have something to do, either you are a fashion designer, or you are a plumber, or you are a decorator, or you must have something. And that will help you. So when you come to overseas, you won't be looking for a job. Because you have your job in your house. If anything wrong in my house with my plumber, because look at the newspaper and call the plumber. Something is wrong with my face. For calling him at all, he's 70 pounds. He has not done anything else, just call out charge. But when he comes, he will charge you per hour. Plumbing, what if I know it after 7 months? So that is the era we are now. So Nigeria government should do something else. All parents should tell their children, even though you go to university, can you learn something? Apply yourself with a skill that when you travel out everywhere, you can use it to work. For example, like me, I told one of my colleagues in my country, if your son or your daughter is a fashion designer, I would like to train you. You don't need a shop. I will give you a room. All my church members, they will be selling from me. You will get good money. I will make money from here. So you have to, is that I read the day, academically, I read it. No, it doesn't work anymore. So government should wake up and do something to help this youth. God bless my people.
All right, thank you very much, Ajay, for that. Ajay was backing, what Shettima said for a lot of the youth to go into, vocational training so that at least they have something to fall back on. And with the evidence of deterioration of the quality of education in Nigeria, especially when it comes to tertiary institutions, you would see that a lot of people would, or a lot of students would graduate without knowing what they're doing at the end of the day. They would be employed and they wouldn't be able to do what they need to do when it comes to their job as well. And you would see that with a lot of universities, the resources would be stretched thin and there wouldn't be serious concentration when it comes to making sure that the standard is up there. All right, we have another caller. Hello.
I wanted to add mine, but let's get this call first.
Hello, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, good morning, Mr. Paul. Thank you for joining us. What is your take on this matter?
So, thank you very much. The question you asked this one is a good one. I think, to me, the banning of creation of new universities and other institutions is a good one. But my issue there, my whole take there is that the resources that are supposed to be used for such creations of the institutions should not be diverted into other sides. It should still be concentrated on the educational standards. Let those funds be invested into the university and other schools to standardize our level of education in Nigeria. Yes, it's a good take. What I'm saying is that, like in our universities of these days, majority of the engineering courses that they are offering, they are just half-baked graduates. Yes. There are many of these science courses, they don't have practical things that they are studying there. Like a mechanical engineering that graduated in Nigerian universities, many of them cannot work on vehicles that they were trained for. Though on the aspect of the paperwork, they are 100%. But that is not the best way. In China, some of the engineers in China that they are creating so many things in the world today, many of them are not even secondary school holders, but they can work on what they learn. So Nigeria was to let us support our paperwork with physical things that can be done. Imagine there's someone that is mechanical engineering, this vehicle has a problem, you need to go and get an artisan to come and work on the vehicle. Is that the way it should be? It's very wrong. You should know the paperwork. Yes, paperwork is good, but the practical aspect of it is the best that I know. You say you are a building engineer. If you go to the site without that, there is nothing you can do. Only paperwork. What can paper do? So they should invest those money on our practical in the schools, so that if these children are coming out as a graduate, they can function well in the field of their studies. Not because they are waiting for an artisan because they are able to carry out some practical work. So it's a good thing, it's a good direction, but the resources should be returned to that particular institution so that things will work well for us in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Paul. So, Maryam, what is your take on, his perspective of saying that we have a lot of universities and we have, especially when it comes to the science courses, you would see that theoretically they are good.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the practical aspect, they're lacking in that. What's your take on that?
I wanted to really mention that, and Mr. Paul just explained his take was very good, because not even on science courses, even a mass communication department, since we're all journalists here, most mass communications department do not have a concrete radio mics and radio stations like campus radio. They do not have that. So instead of creating new federal universities, that resources should be channeled in upgrading facilities. Get facilities, like you mentioned. Our students are very good when it comes to theories, but they do not know anything practically, and that's a huge one. It's a huge mistake many universities are making, because once they leave the tertiary institutions, they come back to the labor market, and you can imagine a fresh graduate not knowing how to practice his profession.
All right, let's take our next caller. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning.
What is your name? Good morning. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Harry Safadi. I'm calling from the Daybreak.
All right, thank you for calling us. What is your take on this issue?
Yes, I actually want to, take position with the last caller. I think the last caller was actually very right. Very right. What he was, I think what he was also saying in essence is what I have always been advising. We should totally de-emphasize the certificate thing and emphasize more on what you can offer. I think what is most important is what you can offer. But we lay too much emphasis on certificates. Certificates, you have so many graduates in Nigeria now that cannot even issue a memo. Do you understand? Only God knows a lot of graduates now come out of the university. We should lay more emphasis on what you can offer and not certificates. Let us totally de-emphasize certificate if possible and lay more emphasis on what you can offer. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, thank you very much for that. Noting that when it comes to the standard of education in Nigeria, we have to understand that whatever you're building, a good foundation has to be there. Nonetheless, even if that foundation is not as good, when you're getting up there needs to be a good environment when it comes to giving what is needed, especially when it comes to education, because you wouldn't want to produce half-baked graduates, and then at the end of the day they will not be capable of doing what they need to do when it comes to the real world. And aside from that, there are lots of people that don't necessarily, because there's a caller that spoke about not just having a certificate, there are lots of people that might not be good in an institution, in a school environment, but they're really good handy wise, and they're very talented as well, and they could opt for having a different alternative. But then when you look at it, when in this situation with the ban, at least those resources that are meant to be used to be spread out in creating other universities. Let's look at the institutions that we have. Let's revise and see what is needed. Let us, make our universities of higher institutions up to standards according to, as we always see, international best practices.
Yes,
right?
International standard.
Exactly. All right, let us take our next caller. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Beautiful morning to you, Hauwa. Maryam, good morning. You are on KSMD from Lagos.
All right,
good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. What is your take on this matter?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, let me appreciate SBD for giving us this opportunity. May God Almighty Allah continue to protect people. To me, this is a very good step. That is, if really we're going to apply it, sometimes paperwork matters, but in reality, it's hardly for you to see. Very good example. Look at the issue of this fuel subsidy issue. Understand? The government made mention a lot of goodies after the reform, but yet to see those goodies. This is the kind of issues they are avoiding. And then if you can remember, there is this Kenya report, a duplication of some MDAs and some other things. So it's true, honestly speaking. And one funny thing, Maryam, agree with me, the infrastructure, and sometimes disabled people find it very difficult to access some departments, even groceries, libraries, the university, and so on and so forth. So then come and look at the report of CBS on I think it has a member on the May 2022. It's quite disturbing. Almost about $221 billion US has been spent in foreign education just in one course. So imagine if we have facilitated our tertiary with the modern facilities, the infrastructure, and so on and so forth. This money will not be going to acquire education abroad. So I think if really we're going to put it in reality, Because the reality of this day comes largely from the way you feel, the way you think, the way you observe, and the way you act. If really the government means too well, believe in me, we're going to be graduating competent students. Because these days, we graduated students that cannot even defend their results in many aspects. So it's a step forward if really we're going to put it in reality. Imagine in fourth quarter 2022, almost $221 billion in foreign education. So I mean, sometimes after are we for it? Like we always mention, the backbone of development in each and every society has to do with education. Education is key. Skill acquisition, vocational centers, and so on and so forth. In the developed countries, they don't believe in certificates. They believe in experience. What can you do? Yeah, we agree you acquire the certificate. It shows you go to school. But what idea do you have? What can you provide?
Oh, well.
All right. Our caller, I believe, has gotten another call, but then still on the matter, as our caller mentioned, that a lot of funds have been going to, overseas education. A lot of students, a lot of children have been sent abroad to study. Imagine that amount of money being reinvested in our higher institutions here in Nigeria. If they are off standard, then obviously a lot of students would not be traveling abroad to go and study. All right, we have a message. Well, let's look at our WhatsApp message for this morning. This morning we have our first message from Usman Santaraki Jimetayola. He says, "Good morning, Hauwa and Maryam. The decision taken by the Federal Executive Council to ban the creation of establishing new tertiary institutions is the right decision any serious government has to take. It is becoming a norm by lawmakers at the red and green chambers to initiate a motion for establishing a university or polytechnic in their constituency, adding it to the existing tertiary institutions. That their funding by the federal government is becoming a problem. In fact, the cause of constant friction between academic unions of the Nigerian universities and the government that always prompted the members embarking on strike is the lack of adequate funding of the tertiary institutions, especially the universities that are without good laboratories and infrastructures needed for the use of the students, thereby producing half-baked graduates. This decision is the proper thing to do at this time and let the government focus on funding the existing ones." All right, thank you very much, Usman Santuraki.
Just like he mentioned, can you take that?
Yes, all right. We have the next message. We have the next message from Abdurrahman Amin. He said, "Good morning, great team. I commend the federal government's decisive action on August 13th, 2025 to impose a 7-year moratorium on the establishment of new federal universities, polytechnics and colleges of education. The pause button is precisely what the system desperately needed, given the alarming fragmentation of resources. Nigeria currently operates 72 federal universities, 42 federal polytechnics and 28 federal colleges of education, many of which suffer from critically low demand. 199 institutions had fewer than 100 applicants through JAMB last year, with 34 registering 0 applications. In one extreme case, a federal university employs 1,200 staff to cater to fewer than 800 students. Glaring inefficiency and clear signal that expansion without quality is unsustainable. While the intent to elevate infrastructure, staffing and academic rigor is commendable, we must guard against unintended consequences, namely limiting access for underserved regions and allowing unchecked private expansion to exacerbate inequality. Therefore, this moratorium must catalyze strategic reform, not become a rigid freeze. I propose a midterm review of the 3 to 4 year mark to assess progress, adjust policy and consider lifting the ban in underserved zones if quality and capacity conditions are met. We should also incentivize industry-university partnerships benchmark global standards, restructure funding by outcomes, and audit revitalize institutions to turn idle capacity into thriving centers of excellence. All right, thank you very much, Abdurrahman. I mean, that is a lot.
The next message is from Akarele Henry from Iyana Ilobu Ota. He says, good morning. The ban of the creation of the new tertiary institution is a good one. The ban will definitely ensure that existing institutions improve their quality and standards before new ones are established. It will lead to better allocation of resources, focusing on upgrading existing infrastructure rather than spreading resources thinly across new institutions. Honestly, I think the ban is a good one in enhancing the quality of the graduates we produce in our tertiary institutions. And the next is comes from Nandi Bete from Ogoja. Says the challenges of tertiary education in Nigeria do not lie so much on the proliferation of schools. The real problem is the content of the curriculum. What is taught in our tertiary institutions is not in tune with the technological realities of the time. So we keep turning our legions of unemployable graduates who end up not even being useful to themselves.
All right, that is from Nandi Bete. Thank you so much. All right, we have
another message.
All right, we have this one from Iyana Ilobo Ota. And they said, good morning. The ban on the creation of new tertiary institutions is a good one. The ban will definitely ensure that existing institutions improve their quality and standards before that. All right, we have another one from Muhammad Bello, Misal local government area. He said, my take, the government's 7-year ban on new federal universities while approving 9 private ones has confused the public and raised trust issues without clear explanation. It appears contradictory and risks deepening inequality since most Nigerians can't afford private education. If the goal is quality, then alongside the moratorium, government must strengthen regulation, invest in existing public schools, and ensure affordable access. Policy clarity and equity must go hand in hand. All right, thank you for that, Muhammad Bello. As he said that there has to be equality when it comes to it. If there's going to be a ban on those tertiary institutions, we have to, look at the private institutions as well. But then at the end of the day, as Nandi Bete mentioned, that aside from focusing on, building the infrastructure as well, making sure that they're up to par, we have to look at the standard of education that is given in the classrooms as well. We have to look forth and, expand our vision, our views, our curriculum, so that at least our students will be up to standard when it comes to their education, and when they graduate as well, they'll be capable of doing what they need to do as graduates.
Yeah, the one that sent a message from Misau was concerned about the 9 institutions that was confirmed by the FEC yesterday, and the minister clarified that these private institutions whose applications had been pending for up to 6 years.
Yes.
It has been pending for 6 years and had undergone full evaluation by the National Universities Commission. Maybe something happened and they didn't really approve them, but just because of this halt of 7 years, they decided to approve it yesterday.
All right. I believe we have another WhatsApp message. There is no name there, but they say, good morning, presenter. I am Mr. David Gimba, from Sokyong Gwari Mina. The ban on creation of tertiary institutions in Nigeria is another denial of the poor masses to access education. The ones we have cannot absorb the time in population. All right, this is another take from David Gimba. He says there are not enough tertiary institutions to serve Nigerians here. Well, each and every person has a right to have his own take, and his own perspective is the institutions are still stretched thin for the the amount of people that we have in the country. All right, I believe that is all we have for this segment. Make sure you stay with us for our next segment, where we'll be analyzing this particular federal ban on the creation of new federal institutions in Nigeria. Make sure you stay with us, and thank you for all your messages and your thoughts. Your voice does matter here on Daybreak on Trust TV. We'll be right back.